2016 was a really super exciting year. Not to say that 2015 wasn't. There were a lot of good games that came out in 2015, but the quality was so consistently high across the board that it was hard to really find any drama in that space. The biggest news story of 2015, the Konami-Kojima debacle, was largely one that was one-sided. Konami was at fault, Kojima was the jilted lover. There were easy pickings for the industry and communities at large, and it was only exacerbated by the fact that Metal Gear Solid 5 released without a true ending. Compare that with 2016, where the lines were blurred once again. Mighty No. 9 came out to overwhelmingly negative reviews. Who was at fault here? Keiji Inafune? The team? Kickstarter? No Man's Sky came out and fell flat right out of the gate. Who failed to deliver on the promises? The development team? Sean Murray himself? Is Sean Murray just a guy who wants to impress us and could not actually deliver? These were tough times for some games. People really wanted to succeed. The villains weren't clear-cut, and the answers were hidden from view. When that's the case, it becomes really hard to see what is actually good and actually bad. And so, I'm not going to try and quantify my top 5, top 10s, whatever. Instead, I'm just going to talk about some games I played from this year that I liked, and why I like them, or maybe not. First up on my list is Doom. What a game. And I totally mean that. What a game. For all the advances the medium has made towards cinematic experiences with detailed characters and depth, sometimes you just want to pick up a gun and shoot some demons. Enter Doom, Bethesda's long-awaited take on the revered FPS franchise that has seen some weirdness in the last iteration. We return here in top form with med packs, armor shards, no reloads, none at all. You have a shotgun, 50 shots in the chamber. Plasma rifle, just keep firing. It's phenomenal, it's fun. The combat is fast, frenetic, and high energy. You are encouraged to move quickly through enemies, blasting, taking pot shots, aiming for weak points, and taking advantage of your superior firepower. The glory kill system could have been a one-note, graphically sensitive matter, but instead the team tied it into a health regain mechanic. Do you go for the glory kill to regain health, or do you take the safe shot from a distance? These are actual game choices, and Doom revels in it with a campaign that never really feels old, even though you're essentially traveling across samey landscapes to get to the same combat arenas. Dark Souls 3 might have been my game of the year if I had not played the previous Soulsborne entries to death. It refines the combat to perfection, feeling at once tight and responsive and completely natural. Every weapon has impact, character, and depth. You can essentially use whatever weapon you want and make it viable for your own playthrough. The changes to the magic system, the addition of weapon arts, and the intriguing spin on the typical Dark Souls story make for a really worthwhile experience. The problem is, much to its detriment, is that I didn't know that I didn't want this. I loved Dark Souls 1, and for all of its flaws, Dark Souls 2. There felt like enough difference between the two to warrant a sequel, and it felt like a halfway decent continuation of the series. With the arrival of Dark Souls 3 so quickly on the heels of Bloodborne, I just felt burnt out. There's only so many times I can be ambushed by an enemy standing just behind a cliff where I can't see. So many times where I can have a goo monster drop on my head. I've seen it and done it. Save for maybe one or two that might have given me trouble, I felt like I had beaten all of these bosses before from other games in the same series. Still, criticizing one of FromSoft's games at this point is still taking fractions of what is an automatic 10 out of 10 in my book. I would still much rather play Dark Souls 3 over Watch Dogs 2, for instance. But if you're still on the fence and you've already played the other games, I would wait another year. Let the DLC come out and then get the full package on sale. It's still a great game. I'm just getting burnt out. Comparing Stardew Valley to Harvest Moon is obvious and easy. They're both farming simulators with a cartoony attitude, 2-year cycle, and various options for engaging with town members, but Stardew Valley isn't just a clone of one of my favorite series. It has a totally different kind of humor to it, and a kind of charm that would not fit into Harvest Moon. It's got a distinctly Western flair to its architecture and characters, and while it ticks off all the right boxes for what could be a traditional Harvest Moon, it's what it does differently that completely changes the ballgame. The dungeon crawling, the depth of the fishing minigame, and with Update 1.1, there are now multiple farm layouts to try out and see what fits with your preferred method of making money. Stardew Valley was released at $15 at launch, which felt like an absolute steal at the time. Now, even when getting it on sale, you're still getting one of the best games to come out in recent memory, and you're supporting a developer who listens and actually cares for the community he has built.
You know, the world could always use more heroes.
What is there to say about Overwatch that has been said a million times already? It's fast, it's fun, it's a first-person party shooter that plays more like Team Fortress 2 than it does Call of Duty. But end your expectations there. I certainly should have. I got this game on a Black Friday sale, and it felt instantly like I had been missing out this whole time on what is probably the best game of the year. The depth of each hero, the fun verticality of the maps, and the expert-level strategy that can be utilized by mixing and matching different teammates. You know, to be honest, I'm not really a first-person shooter guy, but this game certainly has changed my mind. Oh, and by the way, I'm always going to love Tracer. Just putting that aside. The Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games I've ever played. I get all types of hyped up talking about the variety of quests and nuanced characters and villains and the sublime world that CD Projekt crafted for players in their 2015 action RPG. It almost feels like cheating to say that Blood and Wine could be one of the best games to come out in 2016, considering it's just a DLC expansion. Barring the fact that to access this content you have to start on the main map for The Witcher 3, Blood and Wine could almost have been released as its own episode and stand up tall and proud amongst the other strong titles this year. The changes to the Witcher mutations, the new armor sets, the color customizations, and the beauty of Toussaint can be a little overwhelming if you're just coming back to The Witcher 3, but stick around. Sink your teeth into the story and the side quests, and just going for a trot with Roach down a dirty road towards Beauclair, you'll find yourself falling in love with the game all over again. Where Blood and Wine really succeeds, it's not just in its masterclass in storytelling, but in a way it ties a neat little bow on the Witcher trilogy. The Witcher 3 didn't need it, with all the loose ties being dealt with in the main game, but Blood and Wine gives players one last romp. A true Witcher story that feels straight from the books, that serves as both a celebration and a fond remembrance for the world crafted by Andrzej Sapkowski and then converted by the team at CD Projekt. If you love a good story, some stunning visuals, and a good open world design, you can do no better than The Witcher 3's Blood and Wine. This was a really good year for games. The 5 I've highlighted here are definitely some of the best, but there were so many games that came out that were above average quality that I think it's safe to say that 2016 might be one of the best years for gaming ever. From Mirror's Edge to Stardew Valley, Toussaint to Hell, this year had a little bit of everything for everyone, and its variety and scope reminds us that AAA and indie aren't necessarily rivals as they are complements to one another. If you were looking for a twisted, dark story, you could just get into Inside, or you could stick around and sink your teeth into the surprisingly meaty Battlefield 1. But I think what makes me most excited about this year is that it might be indicative of where games are ultimately heading. We're no longer having the types of discussions that debate games as art or games as a means to violence. We're talking about them as singular experiences, more and more like we do movies and music and books. We're learning to compare and contrast games not as literature, but as their own medium. And with the increased variety of ways to play games, that can only be a boon for all of us. You could play a game on your phone while you're on the bus, or you could play on your desktop PC. You could slap a VR headset on your face and explore the galaxy. Or you can charge up your Nintendo Switch for some Legend of Zelda on the road. That's something we're going to be looking forward to real soon. There's so many more possibilities now, and my hope for 2017 is that developers remember that gamers aren't just looking for one thing or another. We're looking for the whole package. And just to wrap up my final thoughts on 2016, the world has definitely changed in 2016, not just for gaming, but in general. And it is my hope that all of you out there, however you find my channel, however you find this video, I hope that you take care of one another, and that I hope you respect one another. I'm not asking you to love, I'm not asking you to do all the fun stuff there, but respect one another. The only way we learn as people, and the only way we learn as individuals, is by contrasting our viewpoints and our worldviews against those that differ from us. That's the only way we get perspective. And it is my sincere hope that for 2017, we do a better effort of listening to each other. Maybe not always agreeing, because agreements require a bit of compromise, and that's something we need to get to, but we need to do a better job of listening. So I hope that in the next year, you take some time to listen to somebody who has a different viewpoint from you. And even if you don't agree, even if you don't want to agree, take the time to listen anyways. Show them the respect and the dignity of their opinion. Alright guys, I am the Orca Theory. This has definitely been a year. This has been my first official year LPing and talking about games officially on a YouTube, Twitch manner. I've had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you've had a lot of fun with me. I will see you all in 2017. Bye-bye.